Welcome. Welcome to this week's BTO talk on digital transformation, digital leadership, and AI and generative AI. My name is Michael Alf, calling actually today from Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, where I spent the week. And we are working with clients around the world, not only in this region, but also in Asia and in Europe. And I'm here with my two co-founding partners. By the way, if you want to ask questions, then either do that on the LinkedIn, or you can actually join the WhatsApp group with the QR code just above Rob's head. Rob, over to you.
Yes, thanks, Michael. Yeah, Rob Thurner, one of the three partners here, just back from the Middle East. More on that later. Here in London, London in the news. We'll talk about that a little bit later. So I'm working with business schools and with clients direct on their digital transformation journeys. Of course, GenAI sitting right in the heart of so much of what we're discussing with them and how they implement. Over to you, Markus.
Hello. Thank you, Rob and Michael. Hello from Southeast Asia. I'm back also from the Middle East after spending 3 weeks there, and now back in Singapore and Southeast Asia. I'm a professor at the National University of Singapore for marketing, and together with Rob and Michael, we really help you to get ahead in the game, in the race for generative AI in your organization. Starting with that, Michael, tech news never stop, but you picked something very interesting about a country and how they want to rise in the fight for supremacy.
Absolutely. I think you all kind of followed, what was happening this week. The visit of the President of the United States to the King in the UK. So I think it's more a Rob topic, which, by the way, is very nice. I mean, Rob and I caught up here so that we were all in the region and met and discussed a couple of interesting topics. So one being kind of this massive deal, prosperity deal between these two countries, the United States of America and the UK, and this little bit of investment. I think we'll talk about 150 billion. This is an incredible amount of money. This will, of course, have some positive impact, and we'll have also some other kind of potential kind of political ramifications, but that's a different conversation. And interestingly, a lot of that, and that's why it's now in the tech news, goes into infrastructure. And the CEO of NVIDIA, who's kind of investing significantly there, says, well, in the past, without electricity, nothing worked. And now, of course, without infrastructure, AI doesn't work. So it's all about data centers, AI centers, and so on, to support both AI and this is the other big topic, which we haven't actually touched at all, is quantum computing. And I think the UK is in a quite unique position there with Cambridge, Oxford, and others to play a key role in the quantum space. So that's kind of news of kind of this week. And
if I just jump in on that, I think it's important on many levels. Culturally, there's a very strong bond. I think you'll be familiar with between the UK and the US. Politically, historically, we're very, very keen to keep that going. The word special relationship came up again and again. The way this is actually going to work, some questions about how this huge investment from NVIDIA, Microsoft, Google, Salesforce, and the like into the UK, their UK subsidiaries, will translate into jobs. And that's another thing that's so important. We're talking all the time about job replacement. Where are these jobs actually coming from? We've been seeing different numbers. I've seen a stat, 35,000 jobs created. This is very significant and a tangible sign that there really will be job creation where it's needed, in programming, in research, in infrastructure development, and of course skills development, which is a very exciting area. Can the UK workforce get up to speed to be capable of using this AI functionality? And the other thing is regional. It isn't just London. We're seeing big data centers being set up and down the country, which is very important to create jobs across the UK. So very exciting times, a real sense of confidence here in the UK, and it's going to be very exciting to see how this translates into those jobs and the energy provision, which is another sideline that was talked about in the discussions with the Prime Minister yesterday.
Very interesting indeed from both of you. We will watch it, of course, whether this investment is really happening. Very often, these visits, big announcements are made, and the delivery then lags behind. But what we want to focus on is how people actually prepare for themselves in their career in order to be part of these maybe 35,000 jobs, and how companies prepare themselves with great new ideas. And Rob, you have spent a bit of time in the last couple of days in Oman, and tell us a little bit about what you did. I believe it was in the oil and gas industry.
Yeah, it was Marcus. It was in Bahrain. This one.
Oh, Bahrain.
Yeah, in the oil and gas space. So working in partnership with commercial excellence partners who I have a relationship with. This was a really amazing event. So it was a regional event for the Middle East oil and gas manufacturing industry. So we had the likes of Aramco, ADNOC, PDO in Oman, Shell, BP, Halliburton. So a big regional, but also global players there. It was part of a week-long event, and they brought in young professionals from the industry and some students as well to come up with innovation ideas. So we ran this innovation Shark Tank concept, explain how one finds innovation ideas around some interesting areas. So there was energy security, energy sustainability, knowledge accessibility, and energy affordability. The teams came up with their prototype ideas in one of the innovation quadrants and presented them back to the sharks. And it was amazing. We had some really valuable feedback. And I think the key takeout for me was we encourage the guys to come out with truly game-changing innovations, things which weren't just part of their day job. And the ideas they came up with from sustainable energy creation in the developing markets, in sub-Saharan developing markets, the area around knowledge accessibility, providing GenAI bots which allow people on oil rigs to access information without having to go through detailed reports on their portable devices. These ideas were really well received. Some of them didn't quite have the practical research, and the guy from Aramco and the judges said if you expect people to be getting ideas in headphones which would then compromise their safety. Health and safety stuff, then that's a no-go. But the other idea is that having done that research and come up with a plausible business case got the big thumbs up. So at the end of the session, some great ideas developed in a highly interactive and engaging session. And those ideas, and none of them said, you should follow this through for sure, find the right investors, and you've got something big here. So it's just a point that in a short period of time, with a well thought through idea and having done your research, you can create a proof of concept which really has great potential. And these markets are guys in their beginning of their careers, in their early 20s, given an opportunity to come up with these sorts of ideas and bring those back into the organization. This is really inspiring for them. And clearly the quality of the ideas was absolutely on the money.
So ideation of AI ideas and GenAI ideas, I think we see an avalanche of this nowadays. Michael, I have a question for you. With your wealth of experience, what is your advice of making an idea stick? So you actually get the support from the management, maybe even C-suite, and you do all of your homework, as Rob just mentioned, that if you don't do the reality check on an oil and gas platform, for example, you would propose the wrong idea. In your experience, some tips for doing the right thing and preparing for a pitch of an idea with GenAI.
Yeah, I think it's a really good question, and I think it's one of the challenges of approaches like this, where you create these great innovations and you inspire the young people, and then usually these ideas get stuck. Yeah, so I mean, in most cases, they're getting stuck somewhere along the along the path and the process. And I think one of the things to avoid that is real top management commitment. Yeah, so that means ideally from the CEO says, okay, we really want to do that, and we want to kind of push that through. only, of course, the ideas that make sense. I think that's one component. Even then, quite often you have a lot of resistance in the middle management somewhere because there's a lot of priorities. Yeah, it's like the problem is you are adding to the pile something, and nobody wants to get something added to the pile. I mean, the pile is always too big, and it gets bigger and bigger. So it's actually, if it's not a priority one, it gets lost. So I think that's one kind of this CEO commitment is definitely one. And then maybe that's the first one. I think I had something else, but yeah, so that's one thing which I think really helps in getting these ideas to move forward. I have another one. Now it comes back. So one is, and again, that also starts on the top, but it's a more cultural shift. The willingness to experiment.
Yes.
And to actually fail. Yeah. So one big thing is to have in a company the mindset that a certain number of those projects actually do fail. Yeah, but they are provide a learning. They still need to be executed well. Yeah, so that's it's a different failing. But you need to be kind of willing to see, okay, we don't know exactly if it's going to work. I think that's the second one, which again, of course, it's a cultural mindset shift, which starts from the top. So that's kind of my two kind of thoughts on that.
I love this. Actually, I counted three. The first one you said is align it with the C-suite, and of course you need to have the support from the top. The second you mentioned is, and I put it in my words, Michael, align it with your strategy and all of the projects which have been created and already are in the pipeline. I call this, you have to make it in the top 5 of the project list, beating maybe hundreds of other projects. And the third one is, and I would like to call it, create curiosity. And curiosity about how can we get better and maybe win, and sometimes the projects even fail. We all speak with a great deal of experience here. I myself am coaching the C-suite of one of the companies Rob mentioned earlier in the oil and gas company, and their CEO is the spearhead of generative AI for the company. So they really follow him. I also do a lot of projects, just like Rob has been describing and Michael described the 3 key winning, the formula of 3 winning aspects. And I can share with you that in another company out of oil and gas, but you might actually go through the same experience, all the 4 project ideas which were presented in a Shark Tank failed in the first round and created an immense amount of frustration amongst the 25 participants. But I shared with them that the C-suite usually is the C-suite because they always say no first. So you have to get over this hurdle and come back through the back door and present maybe your same idea or in a different way, with emotion, with passion, with conviction, and show curiosity to find out how the organization can better. So I think we encourage you here never to give up, but also align yourself, as Michael and Rob say, with what are the safety standards, what are the strategic alignments, and so on. Rob, now listening to the both of us, what comes to your mind? What is your advice for any kind of organization when it comes to Gen AI projects? Some people have an avalanche of projects, and some people don't even know where to start. What's your advice?
Yeah, well, I think there are some practical ideas, and as you said, we're all involved in this, so we can see where it's not working and examples where it is working. I think being really clear that your idea is aligned with the business strategy. However, everyone's got great ideas, unless it clearly aligns with what the organization is doing, you're creating a conflict rather than coherence with the overall strategy. So that's an obvious thing, and you should all be clear what your corporate strategy looks like and make sure it fits in. Making sure that you're taking those who are likely to shoot the idea down, those stakeholders, unless they've been briefed in advance and they understand what you're doing and why you're doing it, you absolutely need their support before you go in there and present this at board level. So make sure you've identified your existing stakeholder management piece here, understand who they are, what they get them on board. And then I'll just go back, Markus, to your point. What was clear from what I've seen recently and what I know you've seen with your client is the way your idea is presented. Don't get dug down in the detail. Don't get boring with the presentation. Think it's got to grab attention quickly. You can put all of that detail, in a follow-up document, but you've got to grab people's attention. You've got to connect with them in an emotional way. It's not just about the tech. It's how the tech works. Show how it's working for your users. And then if it's a B2B or a B2G, have in mind very clearly your end user and make sure you've thought through how that experience is going to work for them. So that would be my practical take on your question, Markus. And we've got plenty of experience of working with clients doing this right now, and we're very keen to see how we can help you. So are there any final comments, Markus, Michael, anything to wrap up on before we close our session today?
Oops. Markus is so yeah, I think one of the things kind of building on that, which we want to kind of address again, which we talked about a little bit last time, is how does the leadership look like? So how is it shifting? Yeah, so there is of course a classical element. Yeah, so but the question is also kind of how is it shifting now with AI playing a more and more dominant role? Yeah, and how that looks specifically around those initiatives. So if you have any questions around that, reach out. Join also kind of our newsletter if you want, where we actually summarize the key findings of these sessions. And then we'll see you next week from wherever we are on this planet.
Where our clients are. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Have a good weekend. Bye.
Exactly 14 minutes.